Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Pope. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is the man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived.
The man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived.
The man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to the man,
First
the
Contact
truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
Up, and there we go. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Hope you had a good day yesterday, hanging out with friends and family and just celebrating the day when Jesus was conceived into the world. Was that the actual day? I don't know. It's a time period, though, when it happened. I know that the birth of Jesus was what the big celebration is around Christmas time. However, as we've discussed on the show here, that it is the time frame when the conception more likely happened, because biblical scholars agree that it was in September when Jesus was actually born. So moving on from there, let's take a look at what today is all about. Today is the 26th of December. Sun sign in Capricorn, earth sign. Moon sign in Pisces, a water sign. So we have water and we have earth. So just think about how those two elements work in life. Okay, think how water and earth work together. You have the earth on the outside, the conscious mind, what we're thinking about, and the unconscious mind, what's underneath the surface that is kind of stimulating our thinking. And underneath the surface today we have water. Water is emotion. So there's a lot of emotions bubbling under the surface, the Piscean emotions. And in Pisces is the fish that swim in opposite directions. So with the fish swimming in opposite directions, the emotions are going different ways. The idea is to try to bring those fish swimming together in the same way so we're not pulled in multiple directions. Sometimes that can be very overwhelming for the emotions to go one way and then to go the next. But you all know what I'm talking about. You all feel it. I think this is very significant during this time because you may have noticed yesterday that there is a lot of feelings that were out in the world. A lot of different ways. There were people that were very happy about yesterday, and there were a lot of people who were very sad and very depressed. I seem to see a lot of those individuals yesterday, and it was just one of those days. I think that there seems to be a overall feeling that people are glad that the day has come and gone because they're just so much attached to that particular day. A lot of people have expectations about Christmas, and then it gets there, and feelings are just everywhere. People can't buy gifts, so they feel bad about that. People, don't have their loved ones around, so they feel bad about that. People are doing things that they think they shouldn't be doing on that day because they can't really afford to do other things. They feel bad about that. And it's a whole realm of feeling bad, and people just try to get through that day and move on. At the same time, there's a lot of people who had a really good day, who find the good in everything that's going on, and that's the important part, that we find that good of what's taking place. So we have all of these emotions out there. We have all of this Capricorn energy as the conscious mind. Remember, the Capricorn is the tarot card that is the devil, seeing through illusion. So a lot of illusion taking place during this time that we need to see past, because we just see the physical world and we think that's the be-all end-all. But as we know, it's not. It's only part of what's taking place out in the world. And when we look past the influence of the devil, when we look past the influence of the physical world, we realize there's something much deeper and much more meaningful for us to understand out there. So today we have this underlying energy, the water, and the outside, the earth. Think of how water and earth works together. If you were to have them nicely balanced, you have an island floating on the ocean. If they're imbalanced, the ocean overwhelms the earth and becomes mud. Or if you have too much Earth, it just absorbs all the water, and then there isn't any water left. There's just all Earth. So we have to find a nice balance between the two of these things to make our lives more harmonious. So today we have a sun sign and the moon sign in Earth and water. Some of the aspects we're looking at as we move forth into the day. Coming up, we have an aspect, well, we just had an aspect with Neptune. Taking a look at things from a new perspective that occurred just within the last hour, a little bit more than an hour ago. And it had to do with looking at a new perspective. Our emotions want to look at things in a new way. These two were together, a conjunction, which means they're right within the same area by each other. And so therefore it can be a little pushing and shoving going on when you get these two things next to each other. You've got the water elements, which wants to emote, and you have the Neptune, which says, look at something different. Look at a new way to express these emotions. It can't just all be one way. Maybe there's something more we can learn from this. As we move forward, we had another aspect which just occurred not too long ago. Tonight is going on, 7:46 p.m. tonight. Pluto is going to jump into the mix. Pluto wants that deep transformation to go on with us, so it's going to challenge us in a very positive way. This is a sextile, it's a positive sign, so there's some nice, good, positive change and direction that goes on. So after we've had a day of really exploring new ways to look at things, now we're going to see how we can put that into practice and how that has transformed us. As we move on from there, Chiron comes into the mix here with Pisces, and Chiron is that wounded healer. It's that part of ourselves that needs to be healed. We don't need to go someplace else to find the healing. We can do that healing on our own. And so that's part of the process of this transformation that takes place. We learn how to heal ourselves. And as we learn to heal ourselves, we find that we become much more mentally stable, emotionally stable, because we've learned that we don't have to rely upon everyone else to do something that we have the ability to do for ourselves. And then as it gets to the 9 o'clock hour, the sun sign Capricorn is going to be back in aspect with Neptune right here, in which we're being asked to look at things from a new perspective. Look at things from a new perspective. Perhaps really now take a look at things again and really see what we see differently this time. Because we've gone through a whole change. We've gone through some transformation. We've looked at things differently. We've healed an aspect of ourselves, or are in the process of healing an aspect of ourselves. And now we're going to take another look, another deeper look, and see what it is that we can do to make some positive changes in our lives. As we get into the weekend, Pisces is going to be the moon sign tomorrow. Sunday we make that transition into Aries, starting things over again just shortly after midnight, going into Sunday. And there we're going to be when we return on Monday back over to here. On the Jewish calendar today would be a 4 Tevet. We're in Tevet is the 10th month. The daily thought is faith, intellect, wisdom. Faith believes that which it is told because it wants to believe. Intellect believes that which it understands because it wants to attain understanding. Wisdom believes that which is true because it is true. Wisdom doesn't have to fit that which is faith, which is to believe. Neither does it await the approval of the intellect to say this can be understood. Wisdom is a power of vision, the power to see that which is, without attempting to fit into any mold. Wisdom, therefore, is the only channel by which an infinite God may enter. Okay, so let's take a look at our numerology for today between the Gregorian and the Jewish calendars. Gregorian calendar, we've got 12/26/2004, and the Jewish calendar 10/4/5775. So here's how we're going to arrive at these numbers. Okay, we have the 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 6 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4 adds up to 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. So our Gregorian calendar gives us a 9, which is that last single digit ready to jump to the next level. In the Jewish calendar, we've got the 10 plus 4 plus 5, 7, 7, 5. That adds up to 29. 2 plus 9 equals 11. 11 is a master number, and if we even look further behind the master number, we have the 2. So we've got the 9 on the one hand, and we have the 11 on the other. 9, as I said, is the last single number before it moves up to the next number, so we're getting ready to make a jump into our next phase, whereas the 11 is telling us that there is some mastery within ourselves, and when we allow that mastery to express itself out into the world, we find ourselves really taking the world in a different perspective. And that's perhaps what we all are working towards today, to get that new perspective of what the world is really about, how we have our place in the world, and how the world sees us within it. So there's a lot of great insight that we can gain as we just take some time over the course of today to really explore what is going on with ourselves and how we fit into everything. The moon phase is a waxing moon today, 27% of the way full, making its way up to the full moon. Spaceweather.com, the solar wind is currently at 446.3 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is in the quiet range at the moment, but could jump up into the unsettled range within the next 24 hours. Large coronal hole on the bottom side of the sun, smaller one up at the top, but neither one of them are facing the Earth, so we're just going to pass on by like we do most of the time, unaffected. M-class flare possibility, 25%, X-class 5, geomagnetic storm activity. In the mid-latitudes, we have anywhere from 15% dropping down to 1%, and in the high latitudes, 20 to 25%. And in the sky tonight, so this is a time of the year when Orion shines in the east-southeast after dinner time. He's well lit up now, but his 3-star belt is nearly vertical. The belt points up towards Aldebaran and even higher to the Pleiades. In the other direction, it points down to where Sirius is about to rise. If we look up in the sky tonight, some of the other things we'll see. We're progressed over this way, so Mars will be far off to the right, and Venus, you probably won't be seeing that, but we will be seeing that we are still in the sign of Capricornus as we're moving away and over into the Pisces area over here. Alright, there you go. That's our energy for today that we're dealing with. Plan accordingly as you go out into the world, and UFO News is up next. Here we go.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. First one is going to take us to Volcano Popocatépetl in Mexico. Here we have it says alien climbs a volcano in minutes where climbers take hours. Now, in the video, they speak of seeing a naked being on the volcano. He climbs in minutes the same area it takes hikers to climb in hours. Already, this being shows signs of being a genetically superior being with its speed, agility, and ability to resist cold. In the video, they make an easy mistake by saying the being was looking for some minerals or something of value on the surface, pushed up by the volcano's magma. No, that is thinking like a human. These beings are superior in every way and have no need for trinkets they find in the surface. The true reason is much more with nature, or the universe for that matter. It says, you see, aliens follow rules better than humans. They follow them very well. However, there are exceptions. They make their own rules to respect the cultural differences each species has. For instance, Indians in America can petition the U.S. government to be allowed to get a permit to kill a single bald eagle. The eagle is important to their culture for its feathers. That is rare, but it must be allowed in order to respect individual tribes and their cultures. Aliens are this way. They allow a rare exception to the rule when the species requires it for the rituals. Any alien seen on the mountain would most likely be a participation in the ritual of some sort. Many cultures are required to be below the blue sky in order for their prayers or meditations to be heard. Individual aliens have been seen on the mountain off or on for years. but usually alone. Why? Because their ritual requires it. However, when they notice that humans have seen them, they must vacate the area and return to the base. Okay, here's Jaime Maussan and our volcano. Okay, the video itself is 5 minutes 35 seconds. And here we have a little bit of a video. Check and see what's going on. People talking about the beings they have seen. Alright. It says within 10 minutes is what it took them to climb to the top of the volcano. But really, you need to see this video just to kind of get the full gist of it. So the link's available, firstcontactradio.com. Extraterrestrial women in Japan. This one goes on to say, according to Japanese folktale, extraterrestrials have visited planet Earth in the 19th century. Many stories and theories have been telling that aliens have been visiting Earth secretly for many centuries now. However, this particular folktale from Japan, which believed to happen in the early 1800s, continues to inspire many UFO enthusiasts and believers. Okay? This is Jaime talking about the particular instance here again. Something more for you to watch, 4 minutes and 21 seconds. I'm going to jump over here so you can see some of the images. Okay. They have nice good graphics and nice good descriptions of what people saw. But again, I'm going to leave this for you to check it out. Watch the entire video. It's not very long. Black triangle sighting in Gastonia, North Carolina, December 26th. So saw a large triangle with what looked like a round center with a bunch of white lights. Had red lights at the end of the wings, if you want to call them that. Way too swept back for a jet. Triangular in shape, about 500 feet up, going maybe 50 miles or less. Passed very slow and very low with almost no sound. What sound there was followed behind it was very faint. You would expect the sound to follow behind a jet at high speed, but this thing was creeping along. Flew right over the top of the house. I was in the yard watching it come out for about 2 minutes because it was so huge and low. But I heard it as it flew over the top, and I could start to hear the sound behind it. Sounded a good quarter of a mile off, was very faint. I've lived near and around airports most of my life, so no jet can go that slow and be that quiet. This thing was big and quiet, freaky. My son, who's 25, and my 18-year-old niece also saw it for what it's worth. Okay. Indiana. Witness chases UFO at Albany, New Albany, Indiana. An Indiana witness at New Albany reported watching and following bright light UFO that appeared to get the attention of the ground responders in all-terrain vehicles about 5:30 p.m. December 22nd, 2014, according to testimony in the MUFON Witness Reporting Database. The witness was heading home about 5:30 p.m. along westbound I-265 about 2 miles from the intersection with I-64 when the object was first seen. As I was approaching the interchange, I saw a bright light hovering or moving slowly in the distance. Although it was beginning to get dark, there was plenty of late, bright sunshine. The only clouds were much higher than the object. The object had a luminous trail behind it of about 20 to 50 feet. When it eventually passed through some small clouds, I could still see the light it generated. As it began heading north up I-64, the object moved toward Edwardsville. I was driving 45 to 50 miles per hour, and it was parallel to me. But then the object appeared to slow down and began moving towards Georgetown. In 20 to 30 seconds, it gradually faded to nothing while still moving. I entered onto SR-62. The first responder vehicles were arriving from both directions and shut down the road. Twice I saw the first responder run across the road up an embankment into an area of abandoned golf course. To me, they were looking for something. Then the witness and 2 other vehicles were allowed to proceed. Okay. More to this story, follow the link, First Contact Radio. Here we have a sighting that takes place in Torrington, Connecticut, December 25th. It says a starlight caught my interest because it appeared backlit. I called the man out to see because he was looking like it was ascending. It is brighter than Sirius and originally about 35 degrees above the horizon. It's currently 90 degrees above us. A star-like UFO caught my interest. I called my man and to see. It looked like it was ascending. It was brighter than Sirius, originally 35 degrees. It's currently 90 above us. We were making dinner. No drugs or alcohol were involved. At first I thought it was the ISS, but the hovering, random seemings left and right quickly took off that maybe list. It was still hovering over 3 hours later. Okay, very interesting. And one more link here. I want to bring this up for you. This is MUFON list. MUFON Case Management System, the latest 20 reports. Just so you can see what's out there. See the dates of these. 12/25, November 30th, 26th, 25th, 25th, 24th. Some of these include Christmas Eve. On my way to a convenience store when I saw something bizarre, stopped my vehicle, pulled out my iPhone, videotaped the object. Here we had a triangular low and slow. Big as a jet, way too slow. Starlight caught my interest. It's the one we just read a moment ago. Here we have a reddish-orange lights observed in the sky. 5 pairs of reddish spheres slowly moving, light facing an odd path. Flew from the end of the sky to the other in a straight path. Here 4 lights. First looked like it was just Lumeria. Vertical cylinder maybe red-orange, one above the other. Alright, so lots of sightings that are out there. Lots of sightings every single day. You can check out this link from MUFON periodically to see what is out there, and well, you'll always be amazed because you'll always find something. Alright, there you go. That's our UFO news for today. I'll be back.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Continue on. I'm going to switch gears. We're going to talk about time a little bit. Time. What is time? We hear the concept about time quite often, wondering what it is, what it isn't. It seems to have a mystery around time. We have lots of different ways that we look at time on this planet, from the watches that we wear to the calendars that we look at. There's many different types of calendars keeping track of time in different ways, from the Mayan calendar to the Jewish calendar to the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar, and many other types of calendar, all ways in which we track time. And then, of course, there's the concept of time travel. Can we move through time backwards and forwards? Some say yes, some say no. But time seems to be an element, an aspect of life that we're exploring to find out more about ourselves. There's even stories of the extraterrestrial races who say that they have come back in time to assist us here on this planet, and that they come from a future moment to their past moment, which is our present, in order to help us move forward, because as we move forward into our future time, which is their past time, that there are some problems that we will need to be aware of. And so we need to understand this. And then there's the stories of people like John Titor, who is a supposed time traveler that shows up from time to time. It's been some time since he has made an appearance, but when he did, he left behind a lot of information that has people questioning the reality of what time is versus what time isn't. Well, here's an article. It's called The Philosophy of Time. It's by Robert Torres over at UFO Digest. Have you ever wondered what is meant by a moment in time? To capture a moment in time, we have to combine slices upon slices of infinitesimal, imaginary infinites to get to a moment where we will remember that there has to have been once been a now. After all, what is the now, or the real time, and how long does that last? I'm talking about right now. Well, by the time you get to the end of the sentence, it's already in the past. I mean, it's easy to imagine past or future, but the now, the moment, lasts how long? Does it last a second? To me, that's a needle on a record, or the laser on a DVD. The record is your life, and the needle is where your consciousness of now is at any given time. The rest of the record is either played or it hasn't, but the needle is constantly moving. So the time in existence is always fleeting and only lasts from nanosecond to nanosecond. Anything other than that is either future or past. Yet, believe it or not, there is an answer to how long now is. Coined by E.R. Kelly, it is called the spacious present. It is the name for the time we experience as now. It is a mixture of the very near past, or the fading past, the real ever-moving present, and very near future. Combined together, known as the present, is a streak of a meteor, the sound of a piano key, the wave of your arm. All of these are perceived at one present event. So what is the length of time it lasts as a second or a minute? I found only philosophy on this, and the best explanation that I could find was that it is a paradox. It is the gap between two temporal points, the past and the future. Since neither exists as now, then spacious time is only perception, because it is a mixture of the past and the future. The past is gone, the future hasn't happened, but only exists as thought. So both are non-existent, as present one is past, and one hasn't happened yet. So really, no present time exists at all. Universal nihilism is the best answer I have found, whereby nothing has truth. You can freeze a moment, or even in a photo, it will always be a photo of that past. Enough of that is purely abstract philosophical. To me, that's just thinking out loud again. I do read a lot, so I often make choices on what I believe and what I don't. A lot of my choices are made on faith. They have to do with the experts in any given field are the ones who we have to rely on for educated theory or facts. When I read about quantum waves, just like religion, most of what I have found out is that it is almost all theory. We know these moments exist because we feel them passing. We can't freeze them and we can't pin them down, but they are real and they are right. Hold your thought, but you can't. Am I right? Okay, lots of food for thought here in this article. What time is? During the course of the day, you ever take out time just to consider time? It's all around us, and I think when we do take time to think of it, it's very philosophical, isn't it? But it definitely has some merit in our world, because it seems, not seems, but everything that we do is measured by time. So we have these systems, these calendar systems that we use, and so I thought I'd pull information up about them today so we could take a look at the systems. Here's an article, comes from historyworld.net, the history of the calendar. The sky is the most mysterious part of our everyday experience. Familiarity may make the amazing events going on at ground level seem almost ordinary. Plants and animals grow and die, rain falls, rivers flow. We feel we understand that. But the sky is beyond comprehension. Two great objects travel through it, one hot and constant, the other cold and changeable. In the daytime it is moody. There may be a blazing sun, or racing clouds, or darkness followed by thunder and lightning, and yet on a clear night the sky is very opposite, predictable, if you look hard enough, with recognizable groups of stars moving in a slow but reliable manner. Man's interest in the sky is at the heart of three separate stories: astronomy, astrology, and the calendar. Astronomy is the specific study of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Astrology is a pseudoscience interpreting the supposed effect of the heavenly bodies on the human existence. In early history, the two are closely linked. The sky is the home of many of the gods who influence life on Earth, and the patterns in the sky must surely reflect that influence. Date compilers of the calendar, attempting to record and to predict the passage of time, are offered an easy first step in the cycles of the moon. The only two measures of time available to primitive people are the day, the space between two nights, and the month, the space between two moons. The moon is a well-adjusted length of time for recalling fairly recent events, and it has a magic significance, though it's loose linked with the female menstrual period. A far more important slice of time is the year, a full circuit of the Earth around the sun, crucial in human activities because of its influence on the seasons and crops. But the length of a year is exceptionally hard to measure. Primitive societies make do with a broad concept, counting the year as starting when the leaves sprout on a particular tree, or describing themselves as having lived through a certain number of harvests. The only simple yet accurate way of measuring a year is in relation to the stars. Though structures such as the passage grave at New Grange can record an annual position of the sun at a considerable cost and effort. The stars appear in the night sky at different times and places depending on where the Earth is in its orbit around the sun. A star observed in a given place on the horizon at dawn, for example, will be there exactly a year later. In Egypt, the temple priests derived much of their prestige from close attention to the stars, enabling them to give the impression of predicting natural events. The best example is their use of Sirius, the dog star. It rises above the horizon just before dawn, at the time of the year when the all-important flooding of the Nile is about to occur. Priests who can foretell the event are very powerful soothsayers. The observation of Sirius also enables the Egyptians to become the first people to move from a lunar to a solar calendar. In Mesopotamia, where the Babylonians are leading astronomers, and the calendar is a simple lunar one, so probably the first Egyptian calendar. And a lunar calendar is still in use today in Islam, but such a calendar has one major disadvantage. The length of a lunar month from one new moon to the next is 229.5 days, so 12 lunar months are 354 days, approximately 11 days short of a solar year. In a lunar year, each of the 12 months slips steadily back through the seasons, as happens now with the Muslim calendar, returning to its original position after only 32 years. In some lunar calendars, an extra month is inserted from time to time to keep step with the solar year. This happens in Mesopotamia and in Republican Rome, and it remains the case in the Jewish calendar. But the Egyptian priests' observation of Sirius enables them to count a number of days in a solar year. They make it 365, but then very logically adjust to 12 months of the lunar year, making each of them 30 days long, and add an extra 5 days at the end of the year. Compared to everybody else's calendar at the time, this is very satisfactory, but there is a snag. The priests cannot have failed to notice that every 4 years Sirius appears 1 day later. The reason is that the solar year is more exactly 365 days and 6 hours. The Egyptians make no adjustment for this, and the result that their calendar slides backward throughout the seasons just like a lunar one, much more slowly. Instead of 32 years with the moon, it is 1,460 years before Sirius rises again on the first day of the first month. It is known that from the records that in AD 139 Sirius rises on the first day of the first Egyptian month. This makes it certain that the Egyptian calendar is introduced 1 or 2 full cycles earlier, either in 1321 or 2781 BC, with the earlier date considered more probable. The Roman calendar, introduced by Julius Caesar and subsequently known as the Julian calendar, gets far closer to the solar year than any predecessor. By the 1st century BC, reform in Rome has become evident necessity. The existing calendar is a lunar one with extra months slipped in from time to time in an attempt to adjust it. In Caesar's time, this calendar is 3 months out in relation to the seasons. On the advice of Sosgenesis, a learned astronomer from Alexandria, Caesar added 90 days to the year 46 BC and starts a new calendar on 1 January 45. So Genesis advises Caesar that the length of the solar year is 365 days and 6 hours. The natural solution is to add a day every 4th year, introducing the concept of the leap year. The extra day is added to February, the shortest day of the Roman months. Spread throughout the Roman Empire and later throughout Christendom, the calendar provides very effective for many centuries. Only much later does a flaw again appear. This reason is that the solar year is not 365 days and 6 hours, but 365 days and 5 hours, 48 minutes and 46 seconds. The difference amounts to only 1 day in 130 years, but over the span of history, even that begins to show. Another adjustment will eventually be necessary. While Julius Caesar is improving on the calendar system of 365 days, a similar calendar has been independently arrived at on the other side of the Atlantic. Derived originally by the Olmecs of Central America, it is perfected in about the 1st century AD by the Maya. The Maya, establishing that there are 365 days in the year, divide them into 18 months of 20 days. Like the Egyptians, who have 12 months of 30 days, they complete the year by adding 5 extra days at the end, days which are considered to be the extremely unlucky for any undertaking. An unusual aspect of the Mayan system is the calendar round, which is a 52-day cycle in which no 2 days have the same name. Unlike the day, the month, and the year, the week is an entirely artificial period of time. It is probably first made necessary by the demands of the trade. Hunter-gatherers and primitive farmers have no need of such a concept, but commerce benefits from regularity. The original weeks are almost certainly the gaps between market days. Weeks of this kind vary from 4 days among the African tribes to 10 days to the Incan culture in China. In ancient China, 5-day week sets the working pattern for the Confucian civil service, every 5th day being a bath and hair washing day. Later, this is extended to a 10-day week, with 3-day periods each month known as the first, the middle, and the last bath. There are 2 possible sources for the 7-day week, one from the biblical creation story. From those times, the Israelites have a week of this length, with the 7th day observed for rest and worship. The other and more likely source is Rome, where the equivalent of the modern week is adopted in about the 1st century AD, a time and a place where the Jewish tradition would have little influence. The number of days of the week derives probably through astrology from the 7 known planets, which also provides the names of the days. The Jewish calendar combines lunar and solar cycles. It is given in present form in 921, after the great debate between supporters of 2 slightly different systems. The original calendar goes back to the captivity in Babylon, when the Jews adopt the Babylonian calendar and their names for the months. There are lunar months of 30 and 29 days. In every second of the 3rd year, an extra month of 30 days is added to keep the calendar in approximate step with the solar year. This constitutes a crucial difference between the Jewish and the Muslim systems. The Muslim calendar is the only one in widespread use to be based uncompromisingly on lunar months, with no adjustments to bring the years into balance with the solar cycle. The 12 months are approximately 29 and 30 days long. The lunar cycle is approximately 29.5 days, giving the year of 354 days. There are 2 significant results. Muslim months bear no relation to the seasons, and Muslim years do not coincide with those of other chronologies. There are about 103 lunar years in a solar century. By the millennium, there will have been 1,421 lunar years, but only 1,378 solar years from the start of the Muslim chronology in AH1 or 622. The year AH421 will be 2000. By the 16th century, the seemingly mirror error in the Julian calendar, estimating that the solar year to be 11 minutes and 14 seconds shorter than it actually is, has culminated to the 10-day discrepancy between the lunar calendar and reality. It is the most notable on occasions such as the equinox, now occurring 10 days earlier than the correct calendar dates of March 21st and September 23rd. Pope Gregory XIII employs a German Jesuit and astronomer, Christopher Clavius, to find a solution. Calculating that the error amounts to 3 days and 400 years, Clavius suggests an ingenious adjustment. His proposal, which becomes the basis for the calendar known as after the commissioning Pope as Gregorian, is the century years, or those ending in 00, should be leap years for the divisible by 400. This eliminates 3 years in every 4 centuries and neatly resolves the problem. The result, the centuries since the reform, is that 1600 and 2000 are normal leap years, but the intervening 1700, 1800, and 1900 do not include February 29th. Gregory puts the proposal into immediate effect in the Papal States, noticing that the day after October 4th in 1582 will be October 15th, thus saving the 10 lost days. The Pope's lead is followed in the same way by Spain, Portugal, France, and the most Italian states. The German-speaking Roman Catholic states comply in 1583. Other Christian realms drag their feet on the issue, reluctant to admit that the Pope in Rome has a point. The Lutheran states of Germany change in 1700. Great Britain delays until 1752, by which time the gap is 11 days. Some of the British prove exceptionally dim over the issue, fearing that their lives are being shortened, and in place even rioting for the return of the missing days. Imperial Russia never makes the change. It is introduced after the revolution in 1918. Potentially confusing dates near the change over years are identified by historians with the code OS, or Old Style, for the Julian system, and NS for the New Style for the Gregorian equivalent. More precise measurements in the 20th century have introduced a further refinement of the Gregorian calendar, though not one immediate significance. As adjusted for Pope Gregory, the present system adds 1 day every 3,323 years. The accepted solution at the year divisible by 4,000 will not be leap years. February 29th is therefore dropped unexpectedly in 2,000 years' time. In 4,000, even though the year is divisible by 400, March 1st will follow February 28th in the normal way. Julius Caesar and Sejanus would no doubt be impressed by the ultimate refinement of their system, making it accurate within 1 day in 20,000 years. The calendar devised in 1793 by the Committee of the Republican Convention in Paris combines the rational and the impractical in a way characteristic of much French revolutionary activity. It is entirely logical and slightly ridiculous. The intention is to celebrate the French introduction of the New World era and to sweep away the religious superstitions of the past. By a happy coincidence, the first day after the abolition of the monarchy in 1792 is the autumn equinox, September 22nd, suggesting that even the planetary system recognizes a new beginning. This date now becomes the first day of year 1 in the Republican calendar. The Gregorian reform of the calendar has established a necessary system of leap years, which the committee can only follow. However, they are free to divide 365 days of the normal year on a more rational basis than the traditional months and weeks. They gave for 12 months of 30 days, subdivided into 3 weeks of 10 days, with a day rest every 10th day rather than every 7th, implying a revolutionary increase in productivity. The extra 5 days are grouped as holidays at the end of the year and are called Sansuskoltides. A Sankoltide, meaning without knee breeches, is the contemporary phrase for a revolutionary, describing someone radical enough to wear the more informal trousers. 10 weekdays are named unimaginably by their numbers, but a great deal of effort put into finding vivid names for the months. They are devised by the poet Fabre di Inglente, a close friend of Danton's. They tie together on the scaffold 6 months after the calendar is adopted. Fabre Inglente's name reflects the changing weather and the crops of the year, the considerable effort being made to find his verbal rhythms to suit the moods of the seasons. So, as you can see, time has been looked at by many different ways by humans upon this planet. Here's a little bit more about the Gregorian calendar. Let me just show you some of these points here. 6 things you may not know about the Gregorian calendar. If you were living in England or one of the American colonies 260 years ago, this date, September 13th, 1752, didn't exist. Neither did the 10 preceding days. You would have gone to bed on the evening of September 2nd and woken up on the morning of September 14th. 11 days had been effectually stripped over as part of the preliminary measure that implemented the Gregorian calendar, aligning Britain and its overseas possessions with the rest of Western Europe. In most of the world today, people continue to track their days, months, and years using the centuries-old system. So chances are you're intimately familiar with the workings. Still, there are a few things about the Gregorian calendar which might surprise you. It says 1. The original goal of the Gregorian calendar was to change the date of Easter. In 1582, when Pope Gregory XIII introduced the Gregorian calendar, Europe adhered to the Julian calendar, the first implemented by Julius Caesar. Since the Roman Emperor's system miscalculated the length of a solar year by 11 minutes, the calendar has since fallen out of sync with the seasons. This concerned Gregory because it meant Easter, traditionally observed on March 21st, fell further away from the spring equinox with each passing year. Leap years don't really occur every 4 years in the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar differs for the solar year by 26 seconds per year. Some Protestants viewed the Gregorian calendar as a Catholic plot. The British adaptation of the Gregorian calendar sparked riots and protests. And before the Gregorian calendar's adaptation, the English system began on March 25th, or Lady Day. So again, more ways. I just briefed over that last part so you can look at it. And then, of course, you have the dream spell, which is a system Jose Arguelles took a look at, and he said needed to have some corrections. There are those who say that at one time that the system and our time was not 365 days, but only 360 days, the same degrees as in a circle. Lots of different ways to look at time. We're still looking at time, trying to figure out what it is, and I'm sure that we will continue until we have something that changes that. And it seems to be that the next change would be when we meet our space brothers and sisters and they introduce to us a concept of time different than what we already know. So there you have a lot of different ways to look at time. Very interesting and fascinating. Where are we in time? Well, we're right here, we're right now. And that seems to be the most important part. Here's an article over at In5D. It says, "Are you an old soul?" Good question. Good question for every individual to ask themselves. This is by Greg Prescott. How can you tell if you're an old soul? Are there differences in traits or behaviors? What signs can you look for that help me differentiate the difference? Generally speaking, we are all old souls, but some of us have been here longer than others. The word old is only relative to time because time is linear and our souls are eternal. 10,000 years would be the blink of an eye. Dolores Cannon believes that we need to incarnate many, many times as inanimate objects, plants and animals, before we can become human. Then as humans, we still need to incarnate many, many times to learn all the lessons we came here for. For example, according to Cannon, we've all had to be an air molecule, a drop of water to learn what it's like to work together as one. So here's 16 different ways to tell if you're an old soul. I'm just going to read the 16 and leave all of the other details for you to read on your own. 1. You understand many of life's deep lessons. 2. You are in touch with your natural abilities or have an extreme interest in these abilities. 3. You become spiritually aware. 4. You understand the importance of forgiveness. 5. You're able to transcend ego. 6. You're able to transcend materialism. 7. You're able to understand the concept that your body is a shell for your soul. 8. You were born to have special connection to eras long before you were born. 9. You have an understanding of what you need to do to complete your spiritual progression. 10. You have a strong feeling that Earth isn't your home, or that home isn't your Earth. 11. You tend to be a loner. 12. You have a rebellious nature. 13. You have a burning desire to attain truth and inner wisdom. 14. You are not controlling of others. 15. You sense a separation between yourself and the real world. And 16. You are curious whether you're an old soul or not. Many of those who are awakened will probably move on to the next level of spiritual progression. It's important to remember this because it's not a race, because in the end we all win. Enjoy every millisecond in this incarnation because this may be your last time you'll ever experience a third-dimensional reality. Again, ways of looking at time, right? Old souls. We could only be an old soul if we've gone through time many, many times. So lots of good concepts to look at today and consider as we're moving forward, because we're getting ready to change our time from the Gregorian system from one year to the next. So there you have it. All right, this is our message for today. This comes to us from the angels.
The Angels.
By Ann Albers. December 20th, 2014.
The Angels.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy light in the darkness, and light rising up within your beautiful, brave, and bountiful hearts. For indeed, light did not come into the darkness, but rather was revealed in the midst of the darkness. Light always exists, dear ones. Light is what the entire universe is made of. In the midst of the greatest trials, one must only look in the most humble places to see evidence of God's love. Whether it be in the light of an oil lamp, a babe in a humble manger, or in a simple flower growing up through a crack in a concrete sidewalk, love is ever present, always seeking to reveal itself, always seeking to grow. We celebrate your holidays because your holidays celebrate love. Look for love this week. Look for it everywhere. See it in the faces of those smiling and in the faces of those scowling. Look for it in the most beautiful decorations and in the most garish displays of artificiality. Someone loved themselves, their jobs, their families, or their ideas enough to create everything you see in front of you. The first soul to mix concrete loved the idea of a solid platform. The first person to create the jackhammer to break it up loved the idea of change. The first wise man to follow the star loved the idea that God so loved the world. And you, dear ones, you so love others that you wait in lines, spend your hard-earned money or time, take time to wish others well. You do these things, you create, you sing, you worship, you wish goodness upon others, all because you love. All love is the love of God. All light is the same light present in the lamp, in the manger. All of you without exception birth the divine in the most humble places and spaces within your lives. A quiet smile for a stranger. A kind word for a clerk. Allowing a rushed and rude driver ahead of you in traffic. These are the moments when innocence and love are birthed in the manger, again, and again, and again. Close your eyes during this holiday season. Breathe deeply. Feel the light within your heart. Breathe. Receive. Expand. Fill up your cup with love and pray that the whole world would allow for the same. This is our present to you, dear ones. A gentle reminder that the light born on Christmas, the light burning in the lamp in the temple, the light that lives and breathes within you is your perfect gift to all of humanity.
Very nice message. So here's a passage from the Warrior of the Light. I haven't read anything from here this week, but let me read a couple of these. A warrior of the light does not rely on strength alone. He makes use of his opponent's energy too. When he enters the fight, he has all of his enthusiasm and then moves and strikes that he has learned during his training. As the fight progresses, he discovers that enthusiasm and training are not enough to win. What counts is experience. Then he opens his heart to the universe and asks God to give him the inspiration that he needs to turn every blow from his enemy into a lesson in self-defense. His companions say, "Oh, he's so superstitious, he stopped fighting in order to pray." He even shows respect for his opponent's tricks. The warrior does not respond to these provocations. He knows that without inspiration and experience, no amount of training will help him. A warrior of the light never resorts to trickery, but he knows how to distract his opponent. How anxious he is, he uses every strategy at his disposal to gain his objective. When he sees that his strength is almost gone, he makes his enemy think that he is simply biding his time. When he needs to attack the right flank, he moves his troops to the left. If he intends the battle at once, he pretends instead that he is tired and prepares for sleep. Your friends say, "Look, he's lost all enthusiasm," but he pays no attention to such remarks because his friends do not understand his tactics. A warrior of the light knows what he wants, and he has no need to waste time in explanations. A wise Chinese has this to say about the strategies of the warrior of the light. Convince your enemy that he will gain very little by attacking you. This will diminish his enthusiasm. Do not be ashamed to make a temporary withdrawal from the field if you see that your enemy is stronger than you. It is not winning or losing a single battle that matters, but how you win the war that ends, how the war ends. Even if you are very strong, never be ashamed to feign weakness. This will make your enemy act imprudently and attack too soon. In war, the key to victory is the ability to surprise one's opponent. So the warrior of the light are very good lessons. We're all warriors of the light. We're all wanting to shine brightly into this world, and in a world of darkness, we are very aware of the battle between light and dark that's been taking place. So when we participate as these warriors of the light, we help bring back to the planet that which is so desperately required. The planet will take care of itself. It always does. It's the people on the planet that really need the help. So by being warriors of the light, we're really helping each other. Let's get to our meditation for today. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale again. And another deep breath. And exhale. Imagine yourself walking through the world, walking through the darkness that exists. And as you do so, imagine that the light inside of you shines bright. And with every step you take into the darkness becomes illuminated and dissipates. And the light shines into that which was once dark, and we're able to see what is hidden. And there we see the things that were fearful, doubtful, hopeless. And in the light that shines upon them, the fear turns to love, the doubt to faith, and the hopelessness to hopefulness. And we see that as light comes upon every situation in life, things evolve. So we take time to appreciate the light, to thank the Creator, to thank God for the light that shines in our lives and the opportunity to shine this light to each other. So we just imagine ourselves as beacons of light, allowing the light to flow through us, that we may share it with each and every individual. And as we share it, we imagine them sharing it, and so on until all are shining light. And the planet Earth becomes very bright, filled with such amazing light of all the individuals upon it who are shining this light brightly. So let's imagine a world with light shining bright. And love and faith and hope growing stronger. Let's contemplate the words of this affirmation. I am a shining example of the power and the presence of God. My gratitude awakens greater and greater good in my life. Love is the activity of my consciousness, the natural expression of my being. The body of my affairs reveals and reflects the order of the universe. A vision of health and wholeness takes shape as my body temple. Joyfully I live these words of truth. So be it. And just imagine walking through life, shining bright the light within you. So as we go forth over the course of this weekend, let us just shine forth that light silently as we move through all situations, all places. And as we shine forth that light, know that others will respond according to their needs, according to where they are in life. And one by one, we all make the world a brighter place. So let the subconscious mind continue on that journey of shining the light, and let us bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Just keep your eyes closed and just think about goodness in the world. And let's make a thought, a wish for goodness to exist this weekend. Take one more deep breath. Exhale and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's our show for today. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you taking time over the course of this week to check out the show. Enjoy your weekend. There's no weekend show, so I'll be back on Monday. The next weekend show I'm going to be doing with KCAA will be on the 10th of January. So in the meantime, just keep checking things out here. First Contact Radio, Monday through Friday. I'll be back. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy your family. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.